Committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today on the important topic of improving college affordability. As you heard, my name is Zakiya Smith, and I work on finance and federal policy issues at Lumina Foundation, the nation's largest foundation focused specifically on increasing students' access to and success in post-secondary education. As someone whose grandmother attended college as a non-traditional student in the 50s in South Carolina, before there were integrated schools or even a higher education act to consider, I know both the transformative power of higher education and the pains that come from lack of equity within the system for students of color and for low-income students. And I know from working with students as a college counselor in a federally funded Gear Up program that when talking to students directly, their concerns about college are clear. They think it's important, but they just don't know how they're going to pay for it. And we've talked about this issue at the national level for decades. We've tried to create measures of transparency, which I've very vocally supported, with hopes that better information could create market pressure and direct students to more affordable options. Unfortunately, those efforts alone are not enough. Today's students have responsibilities and commitments that extend far beyond the classroom. Students of color in particular are more likely to be balancing work and the responsibilities of parenting with going to college, as over 40% of Black and Native American students are also parents. And contrary to popular imagination, students today actually have to work far more than past generations did in order to pay for college. In 1971, students could cover tuition at public colleges by working about 10 hours a week throughout the year. Students today would have to work about a 60-hour work week in order to cover the full cost of attendance at a public college in-state. So these affordability concerns aren't just in their heads. The challenge of paying for college today is greater than it was in the past. And some might argue that expenses like rent and food aren't really costs of college, but general costs of living that every adult must face. But very few people would argue with the notion that the traditional student going to college straight from high school, living on campus, deserves to be able to use their financial aid to pay for room and board. Take that same student off campus, and now they've got to find an apartment. Room becomes rent, and food, whether purchased on or off campus, is the board. Ensuring these non-tuition needs are covered in some way, which could include childcare for student parents or transportation to and from campus, are integral to student success. If basic needs aren't met, students are less likely to do well in school, further impeding completion. And as we think about how to address this concern, we must recognize that affordability means different things to different people. What's a bargain to one person may feel like an unattainable luxury to another. For example, a $10,000 degree could sound great to a family making $150,000, yet unimaginable for someone making only $20,000 a year, near the poverty line. That's why we can't focus only on the overarching price or even the average net price, because it alone doesn't capture what's reasonable for families at different income levels. We've got to start to frame affordability in terms that are tailored to individual and family needs, yet are transparent enough for most people to understand. In this vein, Lumina has developed a concept called the Affordability Benchmark, in consultation with experts from inside and outside of higher education. The benchmark is based on some key principles: that those with the capacity to save should be encouraged to do so with clear guidelines that can be broken down into monthly amounts, that students without the capacity to save shouldn't be expected to, and that no student should have to work more to pay for college, no student should have to work so much to pay for college that it impacts their ability to be successful in school. 2 interconnected recommendations could make this a reality. First, a federal-state partnership for affordability, quality, and completion. A benchmark approach or any other type of affordability guarantee would require a new type of partnership between the federal and state governments, in which colleges commit to lower prices and better outcomes for students over time in order to receive funding. States should be encouraged to invest in post-secondary education in order to better leverage the federal spend. And because affordability can't really be conceptually separated from value, it would require being more vigilant about quality, both to root out fraudulent practices and to ensure credentials are meaningful. Second, we must strengthen and preserve the Pell Grant. Pell is the foundation of federal student aid, the bedrock on which the federal commitment to students is based. Unfortunately, the grant itself has not kept up with the rising price of education. I urge the committee to consider ways to strengthen Pell so that it remains available for future generations and to encourage implementation of early awareness and information campaigns to ensure would-be students even know it exists. I'd be happy to answer any questions about these ideas or share in additional detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.